Hey there everyone and welcome back to my Black Torch review, and today we're going to be tackling chapter 16 entitled Walk Proud Like a Rhino's Horn. Now at first I'm like, what in the world is this chapter titled? This makes no sense to me whatsoever, but it will soon. And also I'd like to point out that this is going to be the last volume of Black Torch, so after this we're going to have 3 more chapters left and then that's all. So we start off with a little flashback just right before Amagi sees all of his compatriots. So he kind of tells them like, hey, you've all come from lands across the world just to be alongside me because you believe in my ideas. Now it's time to show humanity the true power of the Mononoke. We shall all fight together as one. And now we cut back to the future, well, to the present, I should say, sorry. And we see that Amagi is now eating all of the Mononoke that he impaled. Just like how we saw last chapter, he completely impaled everyone. It was insane. And Riji's brother, we get to see him. And he comes in and he's like, what in the world is going on here? Like, you impaled all these guys? That's crazy. And Amagi's like, yo, just get out of my way. I'm not gonna eat you. But I'm not in the position right now. I want to get pissed off. And Riji's brother is kind of confused because he's holding his cursed katana. He's like, well, what about this? And Amagi kind of says like, hey, you know what? Devouring a Mononoke while it's possessing an object is kind of pointless. I kind of learned that centuries ago. And he's just like, oh, okay, sure, I understand. And so Amagi does go on and talk about how he does his little how can I call this, his Mononoke abilities. So what he does is he takes the heart of the Mononoke and he just eats it. He has to make sure that when he's eating the heart though, the Mononoke should still be alive, because then the powers kind of just fade away after the Mononoke passes. So Riji's brother still kind of talks to him a little bit until he realizes like, yo, Amagi's not even listening to me anymore. So then we cut it back to Rango and the 2 Mononoke, Koga and then the girl. I forgot what the girl's name is, but it doesn't matter. So Rango and Koga are kind of talking, and Rango's like, wait, I remember Amagi saying like, oh, he's gonna go talk to his like compatriots, right? And Koga's like, yeah, what about it? And Rango's kind of getting a bad feeling. He's like, okay, you know what, Koga, when he comes back or when that portal opens, you need to go grab the girl and run. You gotta leave this place ASAP. And the moment that portal does open, because remember, the portal is how people come and go. And when the portal does open, it's already a bit too late because Amagi already shows up right behind him. And when he does, he grabs the Mononoke girl and devours her. This pisses Koga off pretty bad. He's like, yo, what the and he summons up his big, huge berserker sword and he goes right after Amagi. But Amagi blocks it. And as he's pushed back, he's gonna attack him once again. But Rango kind of steps in and he's like, Rango, what are you doing? And Rango kind of says like, yo, I kind of owe you one for earlier because when you saved my life. But then Rango does say to Koga, sorry, he's like, yo, you gotta go and you gotta rat everything out to the Bureau of Espionage. You need to tell these guys everything. Koga is kind of hesitant at first. He's like, yo, you gotta be kidding me. Why would I do that? And Rango kind of reminds him, like, bro, like, you gotta go or else he'll eat you. Just like the girl he just did, like, literally seconds ago. And Koga, he kind of realizes like, yeah, this guy's kind of right. And he kind of grabs his sword, throws it into the ground, creates his like portal. It was kind of like the Garganta from like Bleach, which is kind of funny. And he kind of just leaves. He goes straight to the Bureau of Espionage. And before he does that though, he does say to Amagi like, yo, you're no longer a Mononoke to me. You are a monster. And he leaves. And Rango looks at him and is like, wow, he doesn't sound like he likes you anymore. And Amagi's like, yo, I really don't care. And so Rango and Amagi kind of get into a little discussion. And Amagi kind of says like, hey, Rango, do you remember when you were born? Rango's like, what type of a question is that, dude? That was centuries ago. How would I remember when I was born? But Amagi kind of goes and says like, hey, you know what? Looking at the sky right now, it reminds me of when I was born. And so we start getting into a flashback of Amagi, and we get to learn how Mononoke are born. So it says that we Mononoke have no parents or children. Passion, hatred, conviction, the thoughts and emotions of all living things flow throughout the world, and sometimes the flow of these thoughts and emotions will settle and surge, and then that is when a Mononoke will be born. So we get to see Amagi. He is naked and he finally gets his consciousness, he gets his body, and he sees the moon for the first time. And he goes around and he gets a kimono. No idea where he got this from. just a nice black kimono just out of nowhere. And he starts to get hungry. He's like, okay, you know what? I have to go eat something now, right? So he walks around and he sees a woman almost being attacked by a Mononoke. And this Mononoke is gonna go and devour this woman. And as Amagi approaches, the Mononoke's like, yo, who the hell are you? And Amagi's like, oh, a Mononoke, this is one of my kind. And the lady's screaming, she's pleading like, hey, please help me. And Amagi's like, oh, a human, a weaker species. So the Mononoke's like, I don't know who you are, but you're in my territory, you're on my turf, and I'm gonna kill you now. And the moment he says that, we cut away and we see Amagi just starting to eat him up. And as he's eating, the woman just goes on her hands and knees, like, hey, I'm very sorry. I'm not aware of what mountain god you are, but thank you for saving my life. Please allow me to offer my honest and most sincere gratitude. And from then, Amagi goes to her village, and he becomes practically like the protector god of the village. However, there's one issue though. The villagers, they don't really like trust him. And the reason why that is because the Mononoke he killed that previous night was the old god of that village. And he was kind of a dick basically. And so they had lack of trust with the Mononoke. So Amagi took it upon himself to restore that trust. How he did that? He protected the village pretty well from thieves, bandits, wandering samurai, and other Mononoke. And over time, the villagers started to respect him. So in another day, the woman is like pouring Amagi some sake, and the woman asks like, hey, have you ever considered eating a human? And Amagi's like, you know what? I've heard they're very nutritional, but the thing is like, that doesn't like bother me. It's none of my concern, because if I start eating, I wouldn't probably stop. He says that they don't particularly like, it's not one of my interests, basically, is what he's trying to say. And that put the woman at ease. And Amagi does say in the monologue, he's like, yo, I didn't say that just to ease the woman's concern, of course. I was really honest. Like, humans, I don't really care. However, that does change when Amagi is trying to protect the village one day and he gets attacked pretty bad. Like, I'm talking a katana in his right shoulder blade and 2 arrows on the front side of his left side of the body and on his left shoulder blade. So he comes back to the village elder and he tells him like what's going on. He's like, I managed to drive their forces back, but there's still some people around and they might come back. And in my current state, I won't be able to fend them off again. And the village elder is like, yo, this is insane. So one other man, who's not the village elder, I would say this is probably like the elder's like son or something like that. He says that we are going to go and we are going to fight with Master Amagi. And everybody's kind of like, what do you mean we're going to fight with him? If he couldn't fight them off, how are we going to finish them off? But the guy says like, hey, it's better that we all die fighting together and fight with Master Amagi than to do nothing, right? So the only issue is that Amagi is still injured. So what do? They bring him a sacrifice. And this sacrifice was the girl he said, I would not eat humans. And also the same girl that he protected against the first Mononoke. And I do not know how to feel about this, because he does devour the woman. And it was just so sad for her character just to end like that. I really felt like something else with her character was going to happen, but nothing did. And that felt like a Mike Tyson punch straight to the stomach. But you know what? It is what it is. It was pretty good. She had a role and just ended pretty abruptly. What can you do? And so now we cut to the present, and Rengo has a sweat. He's like, what the hell did I just listen to? And Amagi is kind of saying like, hey, you know what? They did the right thing back in those days. They had to sacrifice a weak person to give to me, the strongest. They were in the right, basically. What they did was correct. And now that Koga called me a monster, he's not really right anymore. I am a true Mononoke, and I am going to change what the term Mononoke means. From being the term that it will no longer mean the multiplicity of individuals, but it will now mean the all singular being, which is me. And I will stand the ruler of all and guide the world to a correct future, as what a true Mononoke should be. And that's the end of the chapter. And it was a really good chapter. Overall thoughts, it was a good chapter. And if you didn't understand the chapter, the meaning of the chapter, the rhino's horn kind of just means Amagi, because Amagi, he does have a huge transformation where he now has horns on him now. So the title makes sense. Other than that, it was a great way to see Amagi's past, see how he thinks now, because he does think like, hey, the weak should stay weak and the strong should just keep going. It kind of reminds me of Aizen, basically, just without all the manipulation and whatnot. But other than that, it was a pretty solid chapter. Great to see how he thinks and functions. So next week we'll be going on chapter 17, and I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe if you did, and I'll see you next week. Take care.